now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimamatea.com. That's www.naimamatea.com.
And we are back here live at Washington Park, where Mamadee is celebrating her Earth Day birthday. And you can see the sign, the Days of Respect, January 15th, Humanitarian Day, where we wear white. And also, we see the Victims of Violence Day, in which we are to wear black. And then today, August 28th, we wear colors for Dream Day. Colors, black and white. Uh-oh. I'm wearing black and gold. Got the black one. Wearing black and white on Dream Day. We wear colors black and white. And this is Dream Day. And if you're joining us live on Facebook, you can see that we have Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s commemoration and the life and times in this historic display. We have Emmett Till, who has been remembered as having kicked off the the recalling as having kicked off the civil rights struggle with his tragic murder. And we see Malcolm X and so many others that were a part of the awakening of the African American community. And we see Chicago's first mayor, Harold Washington, one who is remembered as having been a catalyst for the empowerment of the inner city community of Chicago. Realization that we do, in fact, have within our hands the power to empower ourselves with the vote, and the successful election, much led by young people, just as much of the civil rights struggle was led by young people. So we are remembering these days of respect and seeking to put them on the calendar for those who are attending school, so that they may have ingrained in their minds these days that made a difference. So, Mamadee, what should we learn from this display?
Well, Humanitarian Day, principles of human and civil rights. And as I said earlier, we're the only ones who had those principles of being a human being taken away from us for 246 years. We were a movable property thing, not a human being person. So when somebody is coming over here to find a better life, it is totally not even in comparison with being in chains and living in chains and living a life of not even being human. So it's not the same at all. And when we, with our younger people, have gotten the miseducated notion that, well, what makes you think our plight is any worse than anybody else's? A rising tide floats all boats. but that doesn't help you when you're still chained to the bottom of the boat. It doesn't matter where that boat is located. You actually are chained to the bottom. And being in denial out of desperation of we're just going to skip over 345 we're going to keep skip over 345 years of federal laws against us as a group and laws to this day. How is it that Biden can make non-citizens who you're rewarding them for breaking into the country? We can hardly survive a broken tail light, and giving their children who are non-citizens can't vote, and still trying to ball us out and say y'all don't vote, and that's why this is happening. When we made history, when Barack ran the second time for his office, we made history by outvoting white people. We do vote, and now Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. he shared a personal dream on August 28, 1963, but he left a prophetic vision on April 3rd, 1968, and he said, "We as a people, not we as everybody, would get to the promised land of peace and prosperity. But we are so damaged as a people, so lacking in knowledge about who we are, and refusing to take uh, this country as our mother tongue language. We're the only ones over here that are not bilingual. We are not bilingual. The only language we speak is American English. Everybody else over here are immigrants. They came from a land with a language and they're on a map. Whether they came from Ghana, they don't claim the whole continent of Ghana. They claim the country. Ghana, Kenya, Liberia, etc. And everybody else, they claim the country. Haitian American, Jamaican American. But we, Negro, black, colored, people of color, Afro descendants, those are not lands and those are not languages. So we have to claim and identify who we are based on facts, not the way we feel. The facts are I am a crimes against humanity descendant because my grandparents were born before 1865. I am a Jim Crow genocide survivor because I went through those segregated schools, three-room schoolhouses with the outhouse in the back. I am a formerly known as Negro and presently known as INAAs, Indigenous Native American African. Why indigenous? Because if you are in the country before it becomes a country, and 1619 came before 1776, which makes us indigenous, and we need to claim our rights as NAAs, Indigenous Native American African. America is a country. Look at your passport. You will not find Africa on it. It doesn't matter that you don't appreciate what was done to us. And because you don't appreciate what was done to us, you're just going to say, I know American. Well, that's all you know. Easter, Christmas, and the 4th of July, and all things American. Get real. Face the facts. Come out of denial. You are not like everybody else because what happened to everybody else did not happen to you. You are a peculiar people, and the institution that you were in was called enslavement, was called a peculiar institution. So we are not like everybody else because of what happened to us, and we've got to come out of denial and name that because we are still here, the strongest people on the planet Earth, and we should be floating around like blimps considering what we have gone through. and to be so caught up that we can't even talk about it. That is why I put in the proposal with the Board of Education to change Prakash into Emmett Till Mass Science Academy because we were commemorating the 50th anniversary of his kidnap lynching, which is my Earth Day birthday. I was 10 years old when I was doing, and he was 14. But I was on the bus, and I asked this mother if I could share the flyer of Hands Across Emmett Till Road. If you have a heart, hold hands. So she said yes, I could give it to them. And her little girls, I guess they were around 11, 12 years of age. And I gave her the flyer. And then when I went to get off the bus, she says to me, she gave it back. She said, I can't have this, I can't let my daughters, I know all about Emmett Till. My daughters can't look at this. It's too gross. And I was living. I said, you mean to tell me this photo is too gross for your children to look at, and another mother's son, child suffered all of those injuries, and you want to say that it's too, you can't look at it. And so when she said that, I was livid that Friday, and I was livid that Saturday, and that Sunday I had a plan. If I name a school after Emmett Till, all the children will have to find out about it. And that is how McCarthy got changed over to Emmett Till. Now, I think that there's a shocking connection between me and Emmett Till because in Chicago, all the significant lasting memorials to him I have been a part of, including personally conceiving the idea and writing the ordinance and lobbying and financing 3.5 years to get Emmett Till Road and resurrect his legacy that was buried for 30 years and people wanted it to stay buried. Why are you bringing up that Emmett Till? People will go back to that. So it took 3.5 years because I couldn't get any letters of support from Operation Push, from NAACP, from all of these groups that you would think that would naturally give you support. But they didn't want to hear it. So, and it's just like when it comes to Robert's Temple, I was invited to, oh, you remember the Days of Respect when Streeter, because that was before you got married. That was because before you got uh, a mother, Alderman Streeter, you talked about these days of respect. And I couldn't get nobody to write the ordinance, so I personally had to draft it, going back to April 4th, 1968, when South Park was changed over to Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, to know how to even write one. And then once I wrote it, I had to individually go to each alderman, and it was 7 of them on 71st Street, to let them individually sign on, and then they presented it. So, I mean, lasting memorials, and the bridge. When it came to the bridge, and Holmes was he was he worked as a special assistant to Representative Patterson, and he had been turned down for the Moore Memorial Bridge, which is state, Emmett Till Memorial Bridge. They said you got to go to the regular channel, so he kept begging me to write it. I said all you have to do is put Emmett Till and we would go on. But he kept begging me, and finally I wrote the ordinance. He said, Mamadee, I wanted you to be the first to know it went through. So I had a hand in the Emmett Till Memorial Bridge. And when you look at this, I said, I think we are psychically connected because we're children. And this is what has happened. And these days of respect, again, are for the children. Because when Rosa Parks came out to the street dedication and said it was what happened to Emmett that gave her the courage to do what she did, then it became his legacy was personally resurrected. I had a campaign I'm on the car here somewhere with Simeon, that was 12 years old and in the bed with Emmett Till when he was kidnapped out. And I wanted Mrs. Mobley and Emmett together on a United States photo that she put of herself and him in his coffin. So I was a part of Robert's Temple because I told the person that wanted to do the home many decades ago, Robert's Temple has all the information because that's where the funeral was held. So I had a connection with that. So I know that there is a connection between Emmett and myself. And so I think that we have to maintain our history from our standpoint. We cannot let other people continue to cut us out of our own historic experience, and we continue to think we're just like everybody else. They won't just, no, 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 not true.
So, are there any particular books that you would recommend be part of the school curriculum, Mama D, that tells the story in the way that you say it should be told?
I think one of those books is the Kerner Report because the Kerner Report is the most comprehensive report that has ever been done. And it's actually a book that talks about the two Americas, and then they set aside for uh, in the INAA, and at the end of the day, they changed the language to minorities and cut in all these people from countries. So I would say that. I would say 12 Years a Slave, which was an actual experience and account of a slave who had been free before he was kidnapped and brought back to slavery and then went back into his uh, freedom status. That would, and I would say the history in the Black History Bible book and as a historic account of a physical description of the hero of that Bible. So those are the three books that I would recommend. And also the I Have a Dream speech in its entirety, so that you include the first 11 paragraphs and all the other paragraphs that says the word Negro has been omitted so that we could make Dr. King a dreamer for all people. When the fact of the matter is, he was not a dreamer, he was a doer. He was putting direct action on the direct problem, and he was going directly to jail because of it.
Mm. Well, you have heard wisdom with Mama D, and we are here at the Washington Park, the Harold Washington Park, and of course, you will see some of the displays here.
I
Um,
was I was told, what have you done? So I got together some of the things that I have done. And so this is myself at the Million Man March in my 9 feet tall pair of brown trousers. These are my global committee slippers. This is my mother when after getting this street for Emmett Till, her co-workers, my sister was the first, Helen Richard, the first female CTA driver ever slain in the line of duty. So when I got Emmett Till, they came to me and her co-workers, they said, you got a street for Emmett Till. Why don't you get a street for your sister? So I
mm,
got 71st Street. It was, and this is my mother, it was named, this was before it was on 71st Street is Helen Richard Drive. And
wow.
so, and that's a reporter on that. This is myself on the front page of the Chicago Defender. Myself, we were dancing under the Picasso,
Wow.
and Sinstag was there, and he took
Wow.
that. That was the largest photo I'd ever seen on the front of the Defender.
Wow.
So there I am with that. And this is way back in the Black media earlier days with Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Wow.
So
Well, Mama
And
D, I think you have a presentation here that's coming to you from Karen Hicks, founder of A Few Good Women, in honor of your Earth Day.
Well, I just love her. Wait, we're giving this queen her flowers while she's living. Matter of fact, I'm gonna visit graves. I don't do, I don't do the grave stuff because the graves is full of more flowers than people. So, Mama D, today, myself, I say happy birthday.
happy day.
Happy Earth Day birthday.
That's right.
Happy Earth Day. And this is from A Few Good Women. And this is from P. Ray. She just left. And I just connected this. These are her flowers. Look how beautiful they are. Let me just say this to the entire world. If we don't honor those that have paved the way before us, we won't have a trail to follow. Our problem as black people is we don't honor those that came before us. So in order for us to even come here and walk where we're walking, they came before us. But we want to brush over them, look over them, act like they own now. Oh no, darling. Without them, it would not be a us. And we need to honor that. So today, Mama D, I just honor you. I love her. I love her. But Todd is on his way. P. Ray, all the few good women who's looking, I want the entire world to know we love you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
To bear with what you said. This tree has roots that we can't even see, but it holds this tree in place. And this tree has leaves and it has branches. So we have the elders, the children, and the grandchildren. The leaves,
everything,
and the branches will also die. That's right. So once you have passed 10 years, which is 70. You know, I got that from Abraham. He didn't score 10 years ago. But when you get 70, that you have lived a full life. Now you're into that blessed are you.
And grace and mercy.
Blessed are you. So to have a blessing in the background and everybody else in the forefront, when it is the roots, the elders that hold that whole tree in place, there is no way for you to skip over the roots just because you don't see them, just because you don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Come on now.
So this is what it's about. And
You can't see the roots.
That's right.
When Lady Diana died,
Mama D.
did we all remember when Lady Di died?
Yes, that was a big
In America and in England, they killed up all the flowers.
wow.
Yeah, she had such a dead spirit that everything we killed, we killed every flower we could find, and there was no flowers for the little bumblebees to have as a food supply. So we couldn't get no honey. They couldn't live and do what they were supposed to do because Lady Di died.
And they
Now,
kill
you
all the
see,
flowers.
I'm just about lasting memorials, and just because it's been going on and it's a lie, lying tongues destroy the body and the soul. It ain't no such thing as white lies and it's good lies and red lies mean stop and green lies mean go, yellow lies mean I don't know. There are no such thing as a color-coded lie. A lie is a lie is a lie. So, the minute you pluck these flowers up from the ground and put the pretty paper on them, and you put the sticks on them, these are live flowers.
Yes, they are.
But they are dead. They were dead when you plucked them up. Cut them up from the life source, cut them up from the roots. They dead, but they have not withered. And so many of us as people are dead, but we just have not withered. And we really don't have a mental illness. We have a morality These flowers are beautiful, and I am so happy to receive them. But in the future, buy a plant,
Okay, I'm gonna go buy you one
buy
tomorrow.
a plant,
So it's connected to
and
the roots.
preferably buy a aloe vera plant
Oh,
and
a
have
healing
something
plant.
healing. And the reason, and when that person transpired, go to that grave site and put the, that soil in that plant and remember the life of that person because that person uh, had a life and death was a one-time incident. And you just cannot get caught up in death, a one-time incident, when a person had a whole life.
All right, there you
So
go.
in the future, as you remember Earth Day, birthday, let us not kill flowers just because Lady Di died. And we had to kill all the flowers up over here and over in here. You know.
Mamadee, can you just repeat one more time about the root? That was so profound. About you don't see the roots, but
Right.
without them, you wouldn't have the stem, the trees, the branches. Could you just break that down?
Okay.
Because I'm going live. I don't normally do this live, but that's wisdom that needs to be heard.
A
Wisdom
tree,
from Mamadee.
a tree is one thing. It is consistent of roots, leaves, and branches. Now, the roots are your elders, whether you can see them or not. We are all connected, like bebop, bop, and hip hop. We are all connected. So it is the roots that holds this tree in place. So let's just say the roots are your elders. The leaves the branches are your children, and the leaves are their children. So the children and the grandchildren, the grandparents, the children, and the grandchildren. But if this root dies, this whole tree, the leaves and the branches will die. We are blessed three scores and ten. When you get beyond that, you are blessed. And you have a special blessing in that Black History Bible book whose hero has woolly hair and a brass colored face to match his brass colored feet. And this was thousands of years before the so-called Michelangelo had his Kodak moment when the Kodak camera had not even been invented. And you would think that he sat down and had a portrait and took this brass colored face and made it white face and took his hair and made it straight when it is clearly woolly. Now, sheep and lambs have woolly hair. All the other goats and kids have straight hair. All the brown, all the yellow,
Teach.
all the red, and all the white. They have straight hair like goats and kids. Only the sheep and the lamb has woolly hair. And that is because
Your boyfriend.
we are, thank you, Earth Day birthday. That is why
Earth Day birthday.
That is why we are the parents of civilization, not the boys and girls. Go replay The Lion King because that is your story.
Yep. Yes, it
We are
is.
not
Come on.
like a lion. We are
The
lions of Judah.
Tell it, Mamadee. Come on. Did y'all hear that? You better know who
And
you
so-
are, baby.
Got a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, would you expound a little bit on your T-shirt on violence is a virus? I think that brothers and sisters need to know. And I'm curious
Well,
that is.
I will let you look in the back of it. Just to give you an idea.
Y'all
of
see
how
her? Y'all
old
see
this
what
church
Mama D
is.
do? Look at that.
You see, this was before when they first started talking about having the
Look at that big
Olympics
lane.
in Chicago.
All right.
So,
Get it?
long before we got violence is a disease, which I certainly agree with, I was finding a way to talk to my preschool children because we, as a Montessorian, we educate the subconscious brains of children under the age of 4 through the 9 systems and not the 5. And this is when you teach them how wonderful and glorious they are. And now once that's down into their subconscious brain, it is there for life. So um, when you are the children, 3 and 4 year olds, they understand what happens when they start coming down with the cold virus. They comprehend that they know start running, that they start sniffing. Sometimes their eyes, they start uh, sneezing or coughing. And then when I ask them, what does your mom do? She give me some medicine, you know, and to prevent you from coming down with that cold virus, she wants you to put on your raincoat and not walk in the rain and get yourself wet and stuff. So they could comprehend what happens when you start coming down with the cold virus. I knew they could comprehend what happens when you start coming down with the violence virus.
Mm.
When you start coming down with the violence virus, something happens to your nose, just like it does when you come down with the cold virus. Your nose, something happens to your countenance. You start to your mouth. You're not sneezing, but your lips get puffy. When you start coming down with the violence virus, your lips get puffy. Your countenance change just like it changes when you start coming down with the cold virus. And your eyes, if you're a teenager, they usually go up in the air and you do a little bounce with them. You know, this is what the first murder was about. Cain, why have you walked? Why has your countenance changed? So when you're coming down with that violence virus, your countenance changes. Your lips get puffy. You stick your mouth out. As I said, you roll your eyes up in the air, shake your head, and something happens to your feet. You stomp all around. Step away from the back. Because when I see that coming at me, I might have been feeling perfectly beautiful. But once that they sneezed on me, and now the next time somebody comes along, I step at them because I have caught that violence virus. Now, when two little children, little boys, one 11 and one 14, had their throats cut, and a 13-year-old sister had her throat cut and was raped and pretended to be dead, which saved the mother's life. I went to that area and I had this big sign I left for the children, for the survivor. And then I came back, everything was there, but my sign wasn't. And one of the little boys said, well, the mother took that one to the hospital with her. And I got to talking to him. He said he didn't have anybody to go to school with anymore. He didn't have anybody to play with. Him and his little friend went to the store. He didn't have anybody to go to. He was devastated. And he was 10 years old. And I asked him, what happens? What do you do when you start coming down with that violence virus? And this is what he said. He shook his little hand and he said, you go to the person and you say you're sorry and you go on with your life. Wow, wow, wow. I said that. Oh, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I caught it, lost it. I really did.
How old you make today, Mamadee?
I'm going to get to that.
Gonna get to that. She gonna get to
I
that.
asked him, I said, what else? He said, well, I just go and take a nap. I said, yes, chill out. This is 10 years old. He has the answer. How many adults don't know how to go to somebody when they're wrong and say, I'm sorry, and they can go on with their life? But instead, they go on carrying a grudge for life. So ask our children and see this violence as a virus. Today I am 3 scores and 16 years. That means 76.
Look, I had to
76
do the
years.
math, y'all.
But that means I have
76.
been a
76.
freedom
Woo!
fighter.
Look at this
Last
leg,
year,
y'all. Look at this couch.
last year,
Look at this face on it. Now look at that. Big old legs, beautiful snap. 76.
$1 million.
Girl, you
$1
ain't.
million.
Look at her. Come on,
You
y'all.
right there.
Come on, look at this.
here
This is
she
Mamadee.
goes.
And she makes a living because she gives away. Because you make a life with what you've been given. You make a life with what you give. Come on. Happy
Mamadee got the victory.
birthday,
But
birthday.
71 years a freedom fighter. Because
Wow.
my freedom fighting work started at the age of 5 when I refused to give up my seat on the front of the bus and got home
Come
and all hell broke
on.
loose.
For the rose.
Okay. So I just am so overwhelmed by the Blog Talk listeners, and I do expect you to do something to help to get House Bill 4954 passed so that we can at least capture the American civil rights renaissance of the 1960s from the survivor's standpoint and claim the name.
That's right.
INAAs, Indigenous Native American African.
Oh.
Not African Americans, because nobody claims the continent. Now, see, that's our problem right there. We are confused when you say something like indigenous, you thinking that you're talking about somebody else. I'm talking about the kidnapped Africans in 1619,
Right.
and we have our history not there.
Right.
You know, and see, this is what this is all about. Now, you can say Holocaust survivors, and nobody throws anything else in on them. But if you say indigenous, native, well, let's talk about the
Indigenous Native African Americans. What is
Exactly, that's why-
INAA?
right. And you don't even have to put the
Indigenous
CP.
Native American.
Indigenous
Native
Native American Africa, the country
American African.
before the continent.
Ah,
People living
American.
on the continent do not claim the continent.
They claim
They
a country.
claim a country. So we claiming a continent has no standing.
Claim
We
the
are
country,
calling
but
our-
we're from the continent. But we claim the
right.
country.
And there were a lot of different tribes brought to that particular launching place on the continent of Africa that came from hundreds of miles around in different tribes and were uh, brought there and taken in from the continent. But we cannot claim the continent. Look at your passport. It has the country America. Richard Wright said native son. This is your native homeland.
Native land.
You were here before the government got here.
Yes, we were.
1619 came before.
We were here before then.
1776.
Absolutely.
But if we must be hooked up with a color, do not hook us up with black and brown or people of color. Hook us up with the Native Americans, because only the red man, the savage, and the black man, the slave, could be born in America and still not be citizens in the land of their birth. Did you hear that? Not black and brown, not any, only
Black and red.
Black and red. We are twin victims of the American genocidal Holocaust.
Well,
The
Mamadee,
red
you
man
got
got
some folks.
Holocaust when he was snatched from his homeland. And when his homeland was snatched, we got Holocaust when we were snatched from our homeland to work that stolen land for 246 years as a movable property thing, not human being person, as a movable property thing called chattel, with absolutely no rights whatsoever. And as I said earlier, we had a Negro Act. It wasn't a people of color or black and brown act. It was a Negro Act. And Negroes could not assemble in groups. They could not earn money. They could not grow food. They could not learn to read or write. And any
Couldn't even ride a
slave
horse.
owner, they were the horse. And not even that, because this thing, this tree is a lie.
That's right.
But this was a thing here.
Go ahead, Mama.
You understand? It was a thing like this.
That's right.
So when you go to the doctor, they know this thing can't feel.
Come on.
So they don't give you the same kind of treatment because you are a thing and you don't feel pain.
That's right, Mama. See,
You
it's
know.
true.
So let's not get it.
Hallelujah.
Don't get
What
it
happened
twisted.
to us? Do
Don't
not
get
get
it
it twisted.
That's
And
right.
I want to thank all you young people for your slogan. Been there, done that. No, you haven't been there, and you have not done that.
See,
I'm the one that's been there, done that. You hoping that you go there in order to be there.
Wait a minute. What you
All
say
right,
that
well, go
again?
ahead, Mama D.
Oh, my-
Well, Mama D, our Facebook
She
family
said
is
no.
greeting
She's
you.
been
Dr.
there,
Debbie
done
Green says, hello, Mama D. Dr. Debbie
Tell the
Green.
truth and set them free.
Yes.
Tell the truth and set them free. Set them free, Mama D. Tell the
Yes.
truth and set them free.
So we are here in Harold, Washington Park,
Tell the truth and
celebrating
set them all free, Mama D. Set them free.
birthday of
Yes.
Mama D.
Yes.
Yes.
Now on.
Yeah. After she set you on fire.
hey,
Yeah.
Sister Stephanie.
She gonna throw the
Yeah,
world.
yes.
Put your
Hanging
I-
out with
I
Mama
just
D
love
today,
it.
her
I
birthday.
love it.
The purpose of today was not about a lot of speeches and stuff. The purpose of today was to say bebop, bop, and hip hop. We are all connected.
Yes,
I mean, Cab Calloway, he had his suits and his long chains, and he was talking jive. And we came along. The young men had gousters, and they were Ivy Leaguers, and we had our Bobby Sops and our music. But I must confess, I have to confess, we were brought up with his spirit will not dwell in unclean temple. But then James Brown came along. And James Brown said, I don't care whatever it is. It's got to be funky. We said, yes. We were of the funk, by the funk, and for the funk. And we loved every funky minute of it. But guess what? His spirit will not dwell in your funky temple.
Right.
Go
And
ahead.
guess what else, Mama D? He also said
Say
it's
it
a
loud.
man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl. Now, why he say a woman and a girl? Because you need that woman to continue to guide you, and you need that little girl that's going to listen to you.
There you go. All right now. There you go. And he did say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud.
So he know it wouldn't be no world, wouldn't be nothing left. Because he didn't give birth to the woman gave birth to him. Because we don't read what is in the word in Genesis 1 about that sixth day. We don't read that male and female. He said, let us. Go back and read your Bible, that Black History book, and it will tell you that there was he and God said and God said and God said. All of a sudden, the script changed. He said, let us. And then he said the us was male and female.
Okay.
Created he them. And he blessed them. You understand? And he told them to be fruitful and multiply. There was equality on the sixth day. And now you're going to go over in Genesis 3 and start talking about a man in a garden in the east because there was nobody to till, no man to till the earth. That was your job. You were told in Genesis 1, take care of the earth. And as Lord God, you had the power to make a man and put him in the garden to do your plucky work. And then when the man gets the truth, he flips the script. Now you're doing the funky work. So, what happens when you get off of what you're supposed to do. But what we have to realize is if we are in the age of come, let us reason together. If I look up in the sky, I see one sun, one moon, and many stars. I see one daddy, one mama, and many children. This galaxy on earth. God the Father, God the Holy Spirit Mother of wisdom and comfort, and God the child. Now, when we take away wisdom and comfort, it's the reason we have war and pain.
That's it. War and pain.
So we have got to go back and honor God the Father and God the Holy Spirit, Mother of wisdom, Earth Day, birthday.
Mine was on the 4th.
Yes. And that is why we have to honor the female presence and not just going over somewhere else. Our history is being distorted, and this is where we came in at. Just like the Dr. King's Emancipation Dream speech has 16 chapters. 16 chapters, I mean. The first 11 have been taught because they talk about the Negro and the purpose of that march, the status of Negro affairs from 1863 to 1963 is 100 years. It wasn't about everybody. But they found three paragraphs, 12, 13, and 14, that it was a personal thing. I have a dream, a personal thing, and they threw away those first 11 and the last two. So in that whole 16 paragraph, you get the miseducation of three paragraphs. And so you can now distort history and say, he fought for the rights of all people. No, he didn't. Because all people were not involved. And those paragraphs, first 11, last two, 13, and you got three. And that lie has been going on now for 58 years. And it's time to put a cease to it. Thank you. Yes. See, he had to get me one of them dead heroes in here. I ain't mad at it. But you know what? They're going to get rid of these dead heroes because they're going to have a cashless society.
Well, we're going to spend it
because
yeah, we're going to spend it for them.
This is how they are taking our America from us. But you see, Reverend Dr. King, when it's not written in the Black History Bible book, where there is no dream, the people perish. It is written where there is no prophetic vision, the people perish. So on April 3rd, 1968, Reverend Dr. King gave us a prophetic vision. He said, we as a people would get to the promised land, and we will get there through the righteousness of reparation. And if it ain't about reparation, it ain't about nothing. Not when you have already given a reparations dream act, governmental leg up to non-citizens and rewarded the ones who have broken into the country. And we can hardly survive a broken tail life. And you have rewarded their children with a reparations dream act, governmental leg up, and made them a priority in the Biden administration. And that black government, 400 years of delayed action for in-change arrival, isn't even on.
Oh my God.
And what are they doing with the John Lewis Voting Rights Act? They got two. One of the John Lewis Right to Family is all about homosexuals and giving our children to homosexuals by a federal law if they are in foster care. Now, that's called the John Lewis Right to Family Act. Google it up. The other one adds a category of people. It's called the language minority group. So anybody that's over here to pass the naturalized citizenship law must learn how to read, write, and speak English. But they're jumping over all of that and getting a federal law that says if I'm in a language minority because I don't know the language of the country, then this is what they are going to do, write them in. So that, and it's all about Native Americans, has absolutely nothing to do with us. So they have used John Lewis' name in particular to come up with these two laws, two bills, and fool the public.
So Mamadee, we got 1 minute before we get ready to end the show. Wisdom with Mamadee. What is the legislation that we should be pushing people to get their elected officials to support in Washington?
and we need to be pushing not a reparations bill to study the problem when the United June 18th, 2009, the United States Senate and Congress apologized for enslavement. They featured two people, Bill Clinton and George Bush, saying the vestiges still exist today. So that is what we should be dealing with. The reparations bill, and not a bill to study the problem. And if it ain't about reparations, it ain't about nothing. And we have got to put that mask on our face first. You know, Holocaust survivors, it's the Jews. They got that. We got this enslavement piece, and we have not been compensated. And the damage is going on and changed our DNA.
All right.
It's Illinois, vote for House Bill 4954 to put these days of respect on the school calendar from the standpoint of the Jim Crow genocide, and not somebody else giving us his story while our truth remains out in a black hole limbo land.
All right, there we go. That was wisdom with Mamadee.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yes, yes, we are live.